it is time to put some extra flips and flaps and bits on these 4 inside cover panels. Alright, so we'll get our measurements and we'll begin. We're going to begin with the bottom flap, okay? So you will need your piece A measures 7.5 inches by 6.5 inches, and you're going to place it in your scoreboard with the 6.5 inches at the top and score at half, okay? And then the next piece is your B piece. It measures 7.5 inches by 4.5 inches. Put it in your scoreboard along the 4.5 inch side. Again, score at half. Okay, so these are memory protector flip flaps from Close to My Heart. Can't really see that. Close to My Heart. And it's basically just an open pocket where you can put 2 pictures back to back, and then it's got a self-adhesive strip on it. Okay, so you can put it down. I'm using these just because I knew that I would be short on paper. However, and I just like the look of them, but you can also, we're making a waterfall, so you can do it with cardstock as well. So what you would need is 3 pieces measuring 4.25 by 6.5. Put them into your scoreboard along the 6.5 inch side and score at half. Okay, so do that 3 times, and I've already put some score tape on the back. So you'll be putting score tape once you've done all of your scoring. Fold on all of your score lines. And give them a little creasing with your bone folder. And then apply your score tape to that 1/2 inch section. And then we'll miter the corners of your A and B. Just take a little snippet off the edge of A and B right from that score mark at an angle to the top. Okay, and now with my waterfalls, normally I don't miter the corners of the waterfalls. You can, but I'm not going to, just because I'm going to be adding pattern paper to these little gussets that will create little gussets in between, so I won't be needing to miter them. You can though. I guess it doesn't make that much of a difference, but I feel that since I'm going to be covering them, it's works out okay. I hope that made sense. It made sense in my brain, but I don't know if it did. Okay, so you're taking your A piece, remove the score tape, and this is going to go right down to the base of the bottom of your base page. So right down to the edge there. Okay. So that's just going like that. And then your B piece will be going to the top. So really easy peasy. So right up to where it bends, but not over it. Oops. Just want to make sure that this will still bend freely. Okay, so you've got that, and then in here is where we're going to put our waterfall. So it will go like that, and then this one will open up and you will put the next one right up to it, and then that will open up, and then this one right up to the edge of that. Okay, I will be adding my pattern paper first. I want the pattern paper down before I put these on. I find it's easier that way, but my process is that I do all my flips and flaps and get them all prepared, and then I do all my pattern paper. So I am going to leave this for now. So you've got either your 3 close to my heart flip flaps or your 3 cardstock flaps, and I'm going to add these in once there's a piece of pattern paper down there. For now, I'm just going to add a magnet here and here to keep this flap closed. Okay, so place your magnet roughly center, but about 2 inches or so down. So you've got 2 magnets there. So a little piece of score tape, 2 magnets on top, and then a little piece of score tape on top of those 2 magnets. Get the backing off. There we go. And then close down your flap. Now we are going to work on the top portion of the box. So it's going to be roughly the same kind of thing as the bottom portion. Everything is just going to be opening out like this instead of up and down. So you will need 2 pieces of cardstock measuring 7 inches by 5.5 inches, so 2 of those. Then you will need either 2 of the memory flip flaps, and I don't think I mentioned these are perfect for 4x6 photos. But if you don't have those, if you don't have the memory flaps, no problem. Just cut 2 pieces of cardstock measuring 4.5 inches by 6.5 inches. Is that right? Yes. Okay. So first we are going to do our scoring. So your 2 7 by 5.5 inch pieces will each be scored at 1/2 inch along the 5.5 inch side. Okay, so the 5.5 inches up at the top, and score at 1/2 inch. And then if you're not using the memory flip flaps, then these pieces will both be scored at 1/2 inch along the 6.5 inch side. Okay, so add your score tape to the 1/2 inch section of each of those. I'm going to have to get some more score tape. Okay, so add your score tape to the 1/2 inch section on each of those pieces. Remembering not to go over the score line. Okay, and now of the 2 larger pieces, miter the corners just a little bit, take off a little smidge at an angle. So fold on all your score lines, turning your valleys into mountains. Use your bone folder to give it a little crease. Okay, so these large pieces are your A pieces, and you are going to be adhering them side to side like that. And sorry, my head's in the way there. Okay, so remove your score tape, backing. I always say remove your score tape. I always mean remove the backing, not the score tape. And my head might get in the way for a second here because I'm just going to try and line it up perfectly. Okay, so make sure that it doesn't get in the way of that bend, right? You want it right above the score line. And then do the same. Your other A piece is going to go right on the other side. Let me pull this down a little bit so it's more in frame. Okay, so that one, oops, that one is going to go on the far right side. Okay, so just like that. Your flaps, your waterfall portion is going to go right in the center, and then the other one will go, so it will adhere right in the center to the top, and the other one, so imagine it already there, the other one will butt right up against the base of it there. Okay, so I am not going to add these yet. As with the bottom, I'm going to wait until my pattern paper is on, and then I will add these. So if you're using these, it will look like that. Okay, so either way, I'm going to wait until I've got my pattern paper on before I place those down. Okay, and now we will just add magnets. So close up one of the flaps. It doesn't matter which way it goes. You could go this way or this way. So I'm going to place 2 magnets, place a small piece of score tape, in the center, somewhere around there, maybe a little bit further down, so about 1.5 inches from the top, or from the edge of the paper, I should say. Okay, so you've got your little piece of score tape there, roughly in the center from top to bottom, and about 1.5 inches or so in. Going to place 2 magnets, 2 of them stuck together, and then another little bit of score tape. Okay, there we go. And fold that flap over. And now you've got your magnets. Okay, and now we will move on to the 2 sides. So the pieces you will need, both of these are going to be mirror images of each other. So you will need 2 pieces of cardstock measuring 7 3/8 by 4 3/8. Okay, so 1 for each side. And then 4 pieces measuring 4 7/8 by 6 7/8. So that's going to be 2 for each side. Okay, so 4 7/8 by 6 7/8 times 4, 7 3/8 by 4 3/8 times 2. Okay, and then you're going to get your scoreboard. And on the 7 3/8 side, okay, that's at the top of your scoreboard, you're going to score at 1/2 inch on both of those. And then on your 4 pieces, you will put it on the 4 7/8 side and score at 1/2. Okay, so do that to all 4 of them. And the last one. Okay, put your scoreboard away. And now we will apply our score tape to each of the 1/2 inch sections. Remembering not to go over your score line with your score tape. Leave a little space there. And again, if you wanted to use wet adhesive for the entire thing, that is completely up to you. You can do that. I'm such a messy gluer that if I can, I just use the wet glue for the really structural parts and score tape for the rest, because I'm kind of a messy gluer, messy crafter in general, really. My husband makes fun of me because my craft room is usually an absolute, looks like a bomb went off for the most part, but that means that I'm in the zone. That's what that means. Alright, and then we are going to miter each of the corners just a little bit. So again, just take off a tiny little bit from the score line at an angle. This just creates a neater, a cleaner fold. Do that to all of them. Okay, get all those little bits out of the way. These ones here, your, what are they, 7 3/4 by 4 and 7 3/8 by 4 3/8 are your A pieces, and the other ones are your B pieces. So if you choose right now, you can die cut the edge here of your A pieces. It is optional, you don't have to do it, but I am going to. So get my big shot here. And I'm going to measure the center of my piece of chipboard here, or cardstock I should say. So I've just marked the center point. There's a tiny little tick there. And I'm going to get some washi tape or some kind of low tack tape, and you're going to line it up with that center mark and apply just a little bit of washi tape to hold it down there, one on each side. Now I'm going to cut both of these pieces out at the same time. You don't have to do that. You can do them separately if you like, but this way I know they're going to be exact. And you want to try and make sure that this is even, like going this way, because sometimes this will shift, so you want to try and get it as even as possible. I think it looks pretty good. And then we will run it through the die cutting machine. And I usually go back and forth just to make sure that it's cut really well. Get this out of the way again. And there we go. Okay, so we've got our two pieces that are now die cut. Okay, fold and burnish on your score lines. And these are going to go right to the far edge of your side chipboard piece. Okay, so there's one, and we'll do the other side. All right, and now open these up, and your two bee pieces will go up and down. So one adheres to the top. And now the reason that it is 6 7/8 is because you want to make sure that there is clearance for this to be able to fold over nicely and for this to be able to move up. Okay, so make sure you get it really centered because there's just a smidge of room for both of those things to happen. Alright, and now we will do the bottom portion of it. So your other bee piece, line it up right to the edge. Not quite to the edge. Oh, see, and I'm a little tiny smidge off, so am I gonna be able to get it off? Oh, yes, I didn't quite push it down hard enough, so I was able to get it back up there. Okay, fabulous. So that goes like that, that goes over like that, and folds up like that. And now we will do the same thing on the other side. Take your two bee pieces and adhere them to the top and the bottom. So the top one, remove your backing. Okay, and there are your side pieces. So now we can set this aside and start working on the pages now. Oh, wait, no, we can't. Let's, psych, let's first add a magnet to your A piece going down to your B piece on each side. So, tiny little bit of score tape. About an inch or so down and centered. And then we'll put two magnets and another piece of score tape on top of the two magnets. Remove the backing and push her down. There you go. And now we will do the other side here. So centered from top to bottom and around an inch or so from the edge of your border, your edge of your page. Get two magnets. Stick them down there together. Another piece of score tape on top of your two magnets. Remove the backing. And press it closed. Alright, now we are set with that. We can set this aside for the moment. We'll put the lid back on it so we don't lose any of those memory flaps that are in there. Now to close the box, just as a little FYI, I usually take the lid, kind of scoop scoop the one side and then bring it up and get it over the rest of them. That seems to be the easiest way. Okay, so we'll set this aside for now, and we'll bring back our pages, or we'll grab our pages and we'll start working on that.